We've learned the woman who was set on fire and burned to death in a New York City subway car was from New Jersey. Our Naomi Yane in Toms River tonight speaking to her neighbors.
Debrina Kawam died over a week ago on December 22nd after being set on fire while on a New York City subway car. Officials say she spent some time in the New York City homeless shelter system, but Toms River is her last known address. With the help of forensics and surveillance video, the NYPD has identified 57-year-old New Jerseyan Debrina Kawam as the homeless woman who was burned to death on a New York City subway car in Brooklyn. 33-year-old Sebastian Zepeda has been charged with murder and arson.
It's very sad that things like that happen to anybody. You know?
Miles away from New York City here in Toms River, neighbors are shaken up by this tragic story and saddened to hear of Kawam's ties to the area. This home on Anthony Avenue, as well as this home on Waterbury Court, are Kawam's last known addresses. Olga Korpian currently owns the home on Waterbury Court and says she briefly met Kawam earlier this year.
She showed up here one day in the middle of May, and she said, "I want to see my mother." And I said, "Oh, I don't know your mom. I moved in on May 1st.
Korpian says she invited Kawam in and asked to exchange numbers to try and help her get in touch with her family through her realtor. But Kawam said she didn't have a phone.
I gave her my number, you know, you go ahead and give me a call. She never called back. But it was a very brief encounter.
Officials say Kawam and Zepeda were on a stationary F train at the Coney Island stop when Zepeda approached Kawam, who was asleep, and set her clothes on fire. He then fanned the flames, engulfing her in the blaze before sitting on a platform bench and watching her burn. Authorities say they don't believe Kawam and Zepeda knew each other. Governor Murphy tweeting about the incident saying, "Heartbroken and outraged by the murder of Debrina Kawam. The individual responsible for this heinous attack must be brought to justice." And officials say they've been in touch with Kawam's next of kin. As for Zepeda, he's facing multiple charges, including arson and murder. Tonight in Toms River, Naomi Yane, News 12 New Jersey.
New tonight, we now know one person is dead after a fatal overnight stabbing in Yonkers. News 12's Katerina Balalis has the latest from police.
It's a quiet yet sad start to 2025 in one part of Yonkers after a man was fatally stabbed multiple times shortly after ringing in the new year.
New Year's Eve, people drinking, so something's liable to happen sometime.
Police say they found the 38-year-old with multiple stab wounds around 1:30 this morning at the entrance of 2 Hudson Street. An early investigation revealed the victim and another man were fighting when the suspect took out some kind of bladed object and stabbed the victim. He ran off soon after. The victim was taken to a nearby hospital where he ended up dying. His identity has not been released. Police do believe the attack was targeted, but one Yonkers resident says safety should always be a priority.
You just got to be careful and be mindful of where you're at.
Now, Hudson Street was closed for at least 12 hours, making this New Year's Day commute quite difficult for commuters throughout the city. That includes Yonkers resident Lewis, who was having a hard time getting to work today when Hudson Street was closed between Riverdale Avenue and South Broadway.
I have to wait for the bus. It's supposed to turn there, but I guess I'm going to be late now.
A roadblock that many residents might face as police continue the investigation. In Yonkers, Katerina Balalis, News. A man is now dead after a deadly shooting on the first day of the year. News 12's Brittany Cadet joins us now from the 44th Precinct. Brittany, what can you tell us?
Yeah, just a devastating way to ring in the new year. Police have identified the man who died as a 46-year-old Mario Fowler. Now, cops tell us that he died after being shot in both of his legs on 170th Street in Claremont. A 23-year-old man was also found shot on scene. He was grazed on the chin, but is expected to be okay. On scene, a cell phone, earbuds, and a trail of blood were left behind. Police have not yet confirmed if the two knew each other or the shooter. Here in the area of the 44th Precinct, the year ended with a total of 45 shootings, one more than the year prior. The 46th Precinct, though, had the most shootings in the Bronx with a total of 50 shootings for the year. The last shooting to shake up the borough happened on Monday, December 30th, where a total of 6 people were shot on White Plains Road, including a mother and a daughter. According to police, all victims are expected to be okay. And as of right now, with the first shooting of 2025, police are asking anyone with any information to come forward. Again, that was the shooting that happened yesterday in Claremont on 170th Street. You can give police a call with any information at 1-800-577-TIPS. And remember, all calls remain confidential. For now, we're here at the 44th Precinct. I'm Brittany Cadet, News 12, the Bronx.
Behind the parade of storms, look at all of this blue that awaits us. Our warm air from this weekend, that's departing, setting the stage for Arctic air to move on in by this weekend. Very cold temperatures on the way, and it only gets colder from here. This reinforcing shot, a literal chunk of the polar vortex, yeah, it's been a while since you've heard that, that will move down into our borough at some point next week, and that could mean ridiculous cold by the end of the 10-day forecast. So, heading into tomorrow evening, that's when we're on the lookout for some stronger thunderstorms. Drying out for New Year's Day, but the temperatures, they bottom out. There's even potential for a snowstorm this time next week.
And we have breaking new updates after an infant was abandoned in Longwood. This morning, we're learning an arrest was made in the case. Police say the child's 26-year-old mother was arrested for abandoning a baby girl. We're told 26-year-old Delfina Galvez is behind bars facing multiple charges, including reckless endangerment and abandonment of a child. As we reported, the baby was placed inside a green shopping bag, take a look at this, and placed outside someone's home on Reverend James A. Polite Avenue on Sunday. Surveillance cameras captured the whole thing. The owner of the home found the infant on his doorstep naked and wrapped in blankets. Police say the baby girl was taken to the hospital and is in the care of staff. And a reminder that New York state law allows a parent to give up their unwanted newborn baby up to 30 days old without being charged, no questions asked, if the child is surrendered at a hospital, police, or fire station.
We have an exclusive update tonight on the Christmas Eve murder of a Massapequa woman. We now know exactly where police found her. And News 12's Kevin Vesey joins us from Massapequa with that new information. Kevin.
Yeah, and Antoinette, when that murder first happened, it was unclear if the victim was attacked on this property or if someone brought her here from a different location. Well, now sources have told News 12 that she was in fact stabbed in an upstairs apartment, and they say that's also where she was found by police.
I think that's very tragic that it happened just up the block from my house, you know?
Neighbors in Massapequa feeling uneasy tonight after learning the victim in the Christmas Eve murder was stabbed multiple times inside this building on Old Sunrise Highway. Sources tell News 12 she was found in an apartment on the second floor.
I think that's very sad, and I didn't know that there was even apartments up there.
My wife and I operate this business here, you know, and I just didn't think stuff like this happened around here.
Today, police identified the victim as 57-year-old Josefina Ramirez Montero. She was taken to a hospital where she died.
That's really crazy. I wouldn't expect that on my block.
A police officer was back at the scene this afternoon, speaking with a nearby business owner. And yesterday, investigators were searching storm drains. So far, there's been no word on a suspect or a possible motive.
I hope they find him. I mean, who the hell would do that?
Let's hope they do what's got to be done to catch these people, get them off the street.
And at this point, police have not said if anyone has been arrested for that murder. Meanwhile, it's still not clear how many people might have been living in the apartment where it allegedly happened.
There are new details tonight in a fatal shooting that is sending shockwaves throughout the Sullivan County village of Wurtsboro. Police now say that a man there killed his neighbor and his own wife before turning the gun on himself. Our Blaze Gomez has the latest on this developing tragedy.
A quiet lakefront community turned into a horrific crime scene the day after Christmas.
Shock. You know, I know them.
News 12 has now learned that two neighbors were shot dead here on Sunset Point in Wurtsboro, and that the gunman, who also lived here, turned the weapon on himself. Neighbors heard frightening sounds before this massive police response.
I actually heard screaming. The one who was screaming was saying, "My life is over."
State police say 65-year-old Thomas Fusco was fatally shot inside this house, and that 69-year-old Marianne Deloya and 72-year-old Richard Deloya were fatally shot next door. We don't know if police broke this window to get in or if it was damaged in the shooting, but this is where authorities say this tragedy got worse and where the couple was found dead inside. Authorities say it's believed Richard Deloya shot Fusco and Marianne, who neighbors say was his wife, before fatally shooting himself.
What was going on? Friends. Everybody here is like friends.
Folks here say both families have relatives who live in the community and family ties here that go back generations. State police have not said what may have prompted the shootings, and the tragedy remains under investigation. In Wurtsboro, Blaze Gomez, News 12.
She was killed in a fire this week, and now a Bridgeport security guard is being remembered tonight as a good neighbor, sister, and friend. Our Frank Recchia has the story.
She says, "Help me, help me, help me."
It was a night
the whole fire department came through.
Jose Calderon will never forget. The night he stepped up to try and save the life of his next-door neighbor, 26-year-old Fabienne Laramie. Her family didn't want to talk on camera today, but said off camera she was a hardworking and beloved member of the community, most recently working as a security guard at a local hospital.
What I heard was her screaming out, and she was saying, "Help me, help me."
Jose saying firefighters broke through the wall of his apartment to try and get to Fabienne.
This is where they came through.
After he had tried desperately to save her, but was blocked by heavy smoke and flames.
She was not my daughter, but I acted like she was my daughter because I was trying to get to her.
Fabienne would not make it out alive.
Has so much life to live. She had a lot of positive things going for her, so it's a tragedy all the way around.
We rallied together strong.
Councilwoman Jeanette Herron,
you know, we're in mourning with the families.
One of many people coming back here today.
They're not alone.
To show their love and support to all of Fabienne's loved ones.
This family really needs our assistance. Bridgeport, you need to step up.
We've always been a community to come out and help those who are in need.
Those like the several other families who were also impacted by the fire.
These bags aren't just filled with clothes, but they're filled with love.
Filled with a love that seemed to fit this situation like a glove. A GoFundMe set up to help Fabienne's family.
The support is just overwhelming, so thank you to each and every one of you all, from Bridgeport to as far as Hampden.
Her sister telling us she was smart, kind, and beautiful. Jose, meanwhile, says he would give anything to have been able to save her.
It was heartbreaking, you know.
In Bridgeport, Frank Recchia, News 12, Connecticut.
Well, we do have the family's GoFundMe at news12.com. The cause of that fire is under investigation.